According to the stories of my grandfather from my life in Kem, around 16,000 BC, the 12 families began on Green Cape, the island we call Jefu. There were three main islands, Ekaron, Jefu, and Evno. At the height of the Atlantean Empire, there were around 300,000 people living in that region. There were several villages throughout the three main islands, but the main capital of Atlantis was a circle city named Jephis, located on Green Cape. This was considered to be the origin and the center of Jefislian, the Atlantean Empire.
When Atlantis civilization, the Jef, started to be split in those islands in the 12 families, they realized that they had this purpose of creating a new civilization that could rule the world, that could be better than their fathers and mothers, Aesir, in the Middle East. So what they decided was, we need to conquer them, we need to go and take over them, so that would allow them to reach the power of the whole planet. The Arthurian people taught the Atlantean people that the power of the world was consciousness, that the power of the world was to become the planet. So in order to do that, we needed to reach every portal of the planet to have the thinkings of the planet in ourselves. So if the 12 families of Atlantis would be split in the world in the 12 phases of the world, we could download the information from the Atlantis perspective and create the first idea of who we are as planet Earth. That's what pushed them to go out the islands of the Atlantean Ocean, following the pattern of the energy flowing around the world. And they first went to the crossing energy of this Kundalini between Morocco and Spain. So this Atlantean civilization started to make some settlements in the Mediterranean Sea following this fracture of the energy coming from the Atlantic Ocean. This separation of the continents between Africa and Europe was the pattern that they followed to reach the head of the snake. From that following of the energy, they settled their phase settlements in all the region of Middle East, from Egypt to Anatolia, and all this region that now we call Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Arabia, Iraq, Iran. All this region was took by the Atlanteans, but they followed the energy flowing through the mountains more east and east. So that took them to the portal of Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, and they reached the high mountains in the Himalayas. When they arrived there, the Yom, the Lemurian ones, they just went straight to the doors of the portal in the Himalayan mountains, and they settled this army to protect the portals of the Mu civilization. What they knew at that time was that if Atlantean people would reach the whole pattern of the snake, they would be surrounding the Mu portal. So all the information of the water would be now a pattern held by the Atlantean people. So that meant the ending of the Mu civilization. Mu people would never fight against anyone. They would be like angels in the seas. So that's why the Confederation just told them, it is time for you to leave. And that's why all these civilizations just left the cities, left the portals, and peacefully they just went away to the underground. And they left the only colony trying to fight for them, that was the Yom. This region tried to fight against the Atlanteans, so they couldn't reach the whole planet, the energy of the whole world. But it was something natural that had to happen. The Atlanteans had to go and follow the pattern of the snake, and to rule the whole planet and every portal. So the reason why they were chosen to fight the energy of Atlantis, it was because of polarity. This polarity means that they were the ones taking care of the Australian portal of the world. So they were in the desert of Australia, and exactly in the opposite side of the planet we have North Atlantic Ocean. So they were against each other by magnetism, by idea, by polarity. They were precisely the two civilizations that were exactly against each other geographically. So that is why they kind of knew that they had to fight each other in order to see who would rule the world right now. In other dimensions, this war was not something seen like something bad. It was a creation of a new humanity, the beginning of something new for our third-dimensional world. From the fifth and the sixth dimension, polarity creates chaos and creation. And that is why they choose this polarity of this Yom-Yom civilization and the Hephian civilization to reach the middle point in between of them in India, Pakistan. And when they got in touch in the middle point of connection, what they did was to transform themselves in other thing. They start the war. This war would be like different groups of energies reaching the same spot of one of the main portals, and this would create the chaos for the first time in this planet in between the two civilizations that would rule the world and that would lead the ideas of the world for the next thousands of years. The way the war was held in that time was not through the technology of light or the technology of guns like we know today. Of course, we had different ways of understanding how a war was held because we had the sound technology. The sound technology was to use the vibration of the whole planet to create realities, but also to destroy realities. We call this technology as Protikta. Protikta was the structure of 33 cubes that creates this interdimensional and three-dimensional chacana, which is this shape of the symbol that we had in South America, in Bolivia and Peru. But when you split it in different structures, in different cubes, you would have the system that they used to create the pyramids, to create the technology of vibration. They used to put water inside and encode this water by vibration, so everything that was exactly the same would reproduce the same amount of energy and vibration by quantics along the whole planet. So every pyramid, every temple, every stone circle that has the shape of this structure would replicate the same amount of energy and vibration, so everyone could reach the information that they were searching. It was like the first Wi-Fi, the first internet that we had in our planet. So this structure that was being created around the planet by the Atlantean people was something that allowed them to enlighten the cities that they would use to heal, that they would use to contact other times and spaces, that they would use to build pyramids, to build structures, to regenerate the cells in your body to live longer than we live today. So all this technology that was used for the aware of the consciousness and to make it higher in frequency, so every planet could listen this world and we could listen every planet in the Confederation, was also used for this war. That was one of the first mistakes that Atlantean civilizations did. They organized this structure of connection in the world, creating these sound vibrations, and they structured these pillars of resonance that were created in different parts of the world. So when they would create a huge amount of energy by vibration in one pyramid, this vibration would be transmitted into different spots of the planet like cables, like a network. So in a tiny amount of vibration, they could heal, they could change the patterns of the DNA, they could build. But if you put all this amount of vibration in just one spot, the whole network looking into one spot, what you would have is the same amount of energy that we could now atomic bomb. So it was not only a war fought by soldiers fighting with swords. The main war was through sound. This energy was used against the Lemurian people so they could have the power of the portals. In this war, they brought the Lemurian people close by the temples. And the moment they were all close, the temples and the pyramids, they would put all the information and all the energy of the pyramids towards that only pyramid. And when they did that, we could see this energy like a big sound wave with a lot of energy. All this energy was moving around, and you could see it like a light. And when it was expanding, everything that touches just became like dust. Every living being in kilometers around, plants, animals, stones, and people that were living in those regions, even the cities that were in those regions, were turned into dust. And that's how Atlantean people show their power of using the energy of sound around the whole world, and that is how they won the war against the Lemurian people. Nobody in the world would now fight against the Atlantean people because they show the power of sound. They show that this amount of energy was now in their hands. This energy that is known now by some biblical stories like Sodom, Gomorrah, and the destruction of the cities in the Middle East by vibration, by sound, by these lights that turn everything into dust. And the last tiny part of this energy that was brought to the regions of the Ganga in South Egypt, now called Ethiopia, was what in the Bible they call the Ark of the Covenant. They took this part of the Protecta energy that was used to enlight the power of the pyramids around the world. So it was the last tiny part that they could keep before the last fall of Atlantis destroyed all the system in the Atlantic Ocean. That is why today we can remember that the most powerful energy in history was that energy that made that every atom by vibration become dust. And that is one of the reasons why after the Atlantis wars with Lemuria and before the fall of Atlantis, many of the cities and many of the main places of this civilization just disappeared and just killed around the 80% of the population of our civilizations. So many of the pyramids that were around the world and even in the Pacific Ocean, they were nothing after this war. We only have from them the main structures like the basements or some structures from the floor. So we can not have now the main structures because of the destruction through vibration and also because of the time and the climate change and the volcanoes. But mainly during the big war, they disappear or they are underwater or under earth. This war was in the blood and the memory of every culture in history of humanity. So that would mean that every human, even today, has the memory of that war within us. We have this memory of two big civilizations fighting, taking care, one of them the West and the other one the East. And that would separate the idea of the world between East and West. And that would be the first idea of the whole world separated and fighting in different ideas. So this war around 15,000 years BC was the war that allowed the Atlantean people to reach the Taklamakan Desert and to build the pyramids that we know today in China and all the regions in Asia. So they were downloading the information of the Kundalini through Asia and going to America. This was the beginning of the rise of the Atlantean Empire in the whole world.